The dining table looked like it was waiting for someone who forgot they were invited. One plate, one mug, one stubborn little candle flickering like it was trying to pep talk me. I'd cook anyway. Old habits don't retire just because hope does. I barely pulled out my chair when my phone lit up. Lydia. Her name flashed bright like a warning sign. I hit accept. Her face filled the screen. Too red dress, too loud laugh, too many lights behind her. It was chaos wrapped in glitter. People yelled, "Merry Christmas," behind her, clinking glasses like they were performing for a commercial. Helen. Oh my gosh, we totally forgot you, she chirped, grinning like a pageant contestant. I kept my face calm. Did you? She giggled, covering her mouth like she just shared a juicy secret. You know how it is. Too many guests, too much food. We figured you'd want peace and quiet. I said. Didn't realize my own family now counts as a crowd. Ethan leaned into the frame, my son, looking everywhere but at me. Hi, Mom, he murmured. Hi, sweetheart. I waited for him to lift his eyes. He didn't. Lydia swooped back in. We didn't want to overwhelm you. You get anxious around people, remember? Oh, I remembered. I remembered things she didn't think I noticed. No need to worry, I said. I've got my own party here. The call froze a second. When it restarted, Ethan finally looked up, but only for a heartbeat. Merry Christmas, Lydia sang, waving like she was hosting a show. Then the call ended. The screen dimmed, reflecting my own faint smile back at me. I picked up my cup. They uninvited me without even needing the guts to say it. I whispered, Buzz. A message from Lydia. We kept it small. Didn't want you to get tired. I stared at it, then typed, how thoughtful, and hit send. Another buzz, Ethan. Sorry, Mom. Lydia thought you'd be resting. Love you. I typed, resting. I've rested all year. Then deleted it. Instead, I sent, Merry Christmas, son. No reply. Just seen. I turned off the music. The silence felt thick. Even the fridge hum felt louder than the house deserved. I glanced at the empty chair across from me and nearly laughed. Amazing how absence can take up more room than a person ever could. The doorbell rang. Not hope, just the mailman. Catalogs, charity letters, nothing with a heartbeat. Snow coated the neighborhood like someone had tried a do-over on the whole world. A car passed slowly, headlights slicing across my window. Just for a split second, it felt like someone waving goodbye. So that's the grand finale of the year, I muttered. The gingerbread I baked stayed untouched. I wrapped it in a tin, wrote later on top. Maybe I'd eat it. Maybe I wouldn't. My phone lit up again, Lydia's newest post. A long table overflowing with dishes, string lights, smiling faces. Ethan stood half hidden in the back. Her caption, perfect night with everyone that matters. I tapped like once, then calmly blocked her. No anger, just clarity. As I turned off the lights and walked upstairs, the hallway creaked like it was sighing with me. Henry, I whispered into the quiet. You'd have smiled through this mess too, wouldn't you? Silence answered, gentle this time, not hurting. But that night wasn't the breaking point. The breaking point came the next morning, wrapped in an envelope my late husband left behind. And a truth I was never meant to ignore. Morning sunlight hit the snow so hard it looked like the world was made of glass. I woke up feeling like my bones remembered something my mind hadn't caught up to yet. My phone buzzed. It never knows when to take a hint. A message from Lydia. We kept it small. You get anxious with crowds. Hope you're feeling better today. I laughed, one sharp breath that tasted like disbelief. I typed how thoughtful and hit send. I could practically hear her sugary, sharp-edged voice behind those words. She always spoke in sentences that felt like they were dipped in honey but cut like glass. I made coffee and stared out the window. Kids down the street were building a snowman. Pure joy, unmanufactured. Lydia couldn't smile unless she had an audience. Another buzz. Ethan. Love you, Mom. We'll stop by next week if Lydia's schedule clears. If her schedule clears. I typed. Let me know when your schedule allows your mother. Deleted it. Sent. Drive safe, son. The door knocked just as the kettle clicked off. Marion and Cole stood there, two faces I didn't realize I missed until I saw them. You didn't go to Ethan's last night? Marian asked, her hands tucked into her coat like she was holding back warm opinions. No invitation to go to, I said with a smile that wasn't fake but wasn't soft either. She exhaled hard. Not the first time, huh? Maybe the last. They stepped inside. Marian placed a pie on the counter like it was a peace treaty. She looked at the untouched plate from last night. You didn't eat. Wasn't hungry. She narrowed her eyes. You can't starve yourself because they're jerks. That's not self-care, Helen. I'm not starving, I said. I'm clearing space. Marian studied me like she was trying to figure out if I'd grown teeth overnight. You mean? I'm done being the polite one, I said. Politeness has cost me more than cruelty ever did. We sat down with steaming mugs, and she cut into the pie like she was cutting into the truth. I saw Lydia's post, she said. Perfect night with everyone that matters. She knew you'd see it. She wanted me to, I replied. People like Lydia don't post for memories. They post for power. Marianne nodded slowly. You sound like Henry again. Good, I said. He knew how to win. Quietly, the kettle whistled again. I poured more coffee for both of us, feeling the warmth seep into my fingers. My phone buzzed. Lydia again. Hope you're feeling better. We missed you. Marian raised an eyebrow. That heart emoji. That's not affection. It's a leash, I said. Polite control. She really doesn't know who she's dealing with. She will. As Marian talked about holiday gossip, my gaze drifted toward the hallway, a place where silence lived comfortably. Silence had always been my superpower. I just never used it properly. Before she left, Marian pressed the pie into my hands. You'll need something sweet for whatever you're planning, she said. Plans taste better than pie, I replied. When the house grew quiet again, I opened the drawer where I kept Henry's old things. A notebook, a key, a memory. People forget that quiet people don't break. We calculate. And that morning, something shifted. I took out a pen and wrote one line. Call Martin Cole. Monday morning. Twice underlined. But before Monday arrived, Henry's hidden message and the key he left behind opened a door I never knew existed and changed everything. The house was still half asleep when I woke up the next day, quiet, soft, almost pretending nothing had happened. I wasn't pretending. I crossed that bridge the moment I blocked Lydia. Tea steamed in my hands as I walked to the storage room, a place I hadn't bothered with in months. Dust rested on everything like a tired blanket. I opened an old wooden chest Henry built years before he passed. His handwriting was still carved into the lid, for when the world forgets you. Well, I whispered. It finally did. Inside lay pieces of him, his handkerchief, the small music box, and an envelope sealed with his initials. I turned the music box's key. Silent Night played, soft and slow, like a memory taking its time coming back. You picked this song, I murmured. I opened the envelope. Henry's handwriting, steady, sharp, familiar, filled a single page. If she's ever left out in the cold, give her warm. A brass key was taped to the corner. Underneath, an address written in his careful script. Winter Haven Holdings. I froze. You planned for this, didn't you? I whispered. My phone rang. Marian, how are you holding up? She asked. Better than expected. Doing what? Following instructions. What kind? The kind my husband left locked in a box. Marian whistled. Well, damn. That sounds very Henry. It is, I said. He left me a key and an address. And apparently a whole agenda. You want me to come over? No. If Henry wanted witnesses, he would have left more letters. Are you sure about all this? I'm sure about everything after someone lies to my face. She went quiet. Call me when you get back. I will. After we hung up, I wound the music box again. The melody was slower this time. Heavy with years I hadn't unpacked. I held the brass key in my hand. It felt heavier than an object should, almost like it carried intention. Henry used to say, protection isn't love, preparation is. I used to roll my eyes at that. Now it felt like prophecy. I opened the piano lid. Dust floated off the keys, but the notes still sang when I pressed them. I played a little, letting the tune blend with the music box. Two pieces of him, the past and the present overlapping. The phone buzzed again. Ethan. Morning, Mom. Lydia says she can bring leftovers later. I typed. No need. I've had enough leftovers this whole year. Then deleted it. Sent. I'm busy today. Tell her thanks. Thumbs up emoji. That was all. I shut the phone off. Good. Silence was overdue. I took out my planner. Wrote one line. Call Martin Cole. Then before I could overthink it, I dialed his number. He answered on the second ring. Helen. Yes, I said. Henry told you I'd call one day. He did. Said the day you call, you'll know exactly what you want. I do. I have a key and an address. Winter Haven Holdings. He paused. Then it's time. Tomorrow morning, I said. And Martin? Yes. Bring coffee. Black. It's time to talk about money. He laughed softly. Still the same Helen. No, I said. Smarter. When the call ended, I looked around the quiet room. I opened Henry's letter again. At the bottom, in fading ink, was one more line. She won't need anger. She'll need a plan. I closed the letter slowly. Well, Henry, I whispered, your girl finally has both. But what waited at Winter Haven wasn't just a building or a legacy. It was a truth Henry hid for years, and a power Lydia never imagined I had. The next morning felt sharper than usual, like the air itself knew something was about to shift. Snow clung to the roads, glittering in pale daylight as I drove across town. The brass key sat in my coat pocket, warm from my hand, pulsing like a heartbeat that wasn't mine. When I reached Martin Cole's office, he was already waiting, coat still on, 2 steaming coffees on his desk. You're early, he said. I'm done being late, I replied, shutting the door behind me. He smiled knowingly. Henry said this moment would come. I sat. Then don't slow me down. He slid a thick folder across the desk. Winter Haven Holdings. Henry's final project. I opened it. My breath caught. Pages and pages of documents, property titles, trust accounts, maintenance reports, bank transfers, all under one name. Mine. Martin tapped the top sheet gently. Transfer activated 3 days ago. So while Lydia was uninviting me from Christmas, I said slowly, my husband was signing me back into power. He nodded. Exactly. I flipped through, page by page. Every line was Henry's way of saying he saw everything long before I did. Typical. He'd always been preparing while I was still hoping. You kept this quiet all these years? I asked. Henry made me swear, Martin said. He said you needed clarity first, not comfort. I let the words settle. They fit Henry's thinking too perfectly. And the villa? I asked. Ready. Staff dismissed. Utilities paid for 5 years. No one else has access, not even Ethan. Good, I said. I want it that way. Martin raised an eyebrow. You're remarkably calm. I shrugged. I learned from watching other people lose control. He chuckled under his breath. Dangerous skill. Effective though, I said. He handed me a sealed envelope. Henry's handwriting again. He wanted you to have this once everything was official. I didn't open it yet. Show me where to sign. He pointed. I signed all 3 places without a second of hesitation. When will the public records update? They already did this morning. Perfect, I said. Then as of right now, Winter Haven is mine. Martin leaned back, impressed. You don't waste time. Time is the one thing I don't owe anyone anymore. Silence settled in, a comfortable kind. I finally opened Henry's letter. 1 page. One sentence stood out like it was bolded. Revenge is for amateurs. Dignity is the language you were born speaking. A small smile touched my lips. He always did like dramatic lines. He wanted to make sure you'd never be cornered again, Martin said quietly. I won't be. Not emotionally, not financially, not legally. He nodded, his expression softening. Then Henry's plan worked. Of course it did, I said. He never built anything that wasn't meant to last. I stood. I'll need digital and physical copies of everything. You'll have them tonight. And Martin? Yes. Thank you. Not just for being his lawyer, but for being loyal. He gave a small bow of his head. That's what real friends are for. I stepped outside. Snow dusted my coat. Cold but not unwelcome. You never left me unprotected, Henry. I whispered into the wind. You just waited until I stopped protecting the wrong people. The wind brushed against my cheek like it agreed. I walked to my car with two keys, one silver, one brass, sitting heavy in my pocket. Past and future, both waiting. But the real storm didn't hit until I reached home, and Ethan called with a question that told me Lydia had finally felt the shift and was terrified of what came next. By the time I got home, the snow had thickened into heavy, slow flakes, quiet enough to look peaceful, heavy enough to feel like a warning. I carried the folder inside and spread all the documents across the dining table: ownership papers, trust deeds, transfer confirmations, every signature crisp and certain. While Lydia spent her days manufacturing spotlight moments, Henry had been building a fortress with my name etched into every brick. My phone rang. Eve. I let it buzz once before picking up. Mom? His voice sounded nervous, like someone bracing for impact. Lydia says she texted you. Did you get it? I did. She wanted to drop by later. Maybe dinner. Talk. No. I said simply. I'll be busy. Doing what? Following your father's instructions. Silence. Mom, is everything okay? Everything is perfect, I said. Tell Lydia to enjoy her weekend. He exhaled sharply. Mom, she's trying. She feels awful. Trying is good, I replied. It means she finally realizes she messed up. Mom, please don't make this harder. I'm not, I said calmly. I'm making it accurate. He muttered something under his breath and hung up. I poured a glass of water, raised it like a toast to the empty room. Here's to planning ahead. I sealed the folder, slipped it into my coat along with Henry's two keys, and looked around the house. Funny how a place loses its warmth once you realize you stayed in it out of loyalty, not love. The next day, Winter Haven Villa waited for me at the end of a long, snow-carved road. A private hill, tall iron gates, trees bowed under fresh frost. It felt like stepping into another life, one that fit me better than the one I'd been trapped in. I used the silver key. The lock clicked like it had been waiting specifically for my hand. Inside, everything glowed with soft, steady light. Cedar scent floated in the air. The place looked untouched but lived in, like Henry had prepared it for me and then stepped out for a moment. On the table in the living room was a folder with my name written across it. You never left me without instructions, did you? I whispered. The house responded with silence, but it felt like agreement. The next morning, Martin arrived again, snow on his coat, breath fogging in the cold. He set another folder on the table. This is everything Henry wanted executed after you took ownership. Executed, I echoed. I liked the sound of that. He hesitated. Helen Henry didn't build this villa just for comfort. What then? I asked. Purpose, he said. There's something upstairs you should see. We climbed the staircase, the wooden steps creaking just enough to remind me the house had stories. Martin opened a door at the end of the hall. Inside was a wide room overlooking the frozen lake, tables lined with blank files, shelves ready to be filled, a drafting desk, sunlight hitting the hardwood floor like a spotlight. What is this? I breathed. Henry called it your next movement, Martin said. He planned a foundation, a haven for women pushed out of their own homes. He named it Evergreen Haven. My chest tightened. This was for me, but also not just for me. He never thought small, Martin said quietly. He believed you'd know when to build the rest. I walked toward the window. The lake shimmered under pale morning light, silent, powerful, patient. That man, I whispered, turned my pain into blueprints. Martin smiled. And now it's your turn to draw the lines. But while I stepped into the future Henry built, Lydia stepped into a fire of her own making, one the entire town was suddenly watching burn. 3 days after I settled into Winter Haven, my phone started buzzing like it had a personal grudge against me. I ignored it until the notifications shifted from random numbers to a message from Marion. Turn on the news. Now. I did. And there she was, Lydia, standing in front of her parents' house like she was auditioning for a sympathy award. Perfect hair, perfect coat, perfect performance. She's fine, Lydia told the reporter, smiling like she practiced in a mirror. Helen just gets overwhelmed around the holidays. She likes being alone. She's fragile. Fragile. That word slid out of the TV like a blade. Oh, sweetheart, I whispered, leaning back. You should have chosen literally any other adjective. The reporter nodded along like he didn't see the ice behind her smile. So your mother-in-law isn't missing? Not at all. Lydia laughed. She's probably knitting somewhere cozy. That's kind of her thing. Knitting. The audacity. I muted the TV and laughed. A low, sharp sound. Knitting? Honey, I'm stitching something. But it ain't sweaters. My phone rang again. Marion, you saw that disaster? She asked. I did, I said. She's putting on a show. People online are already talking. Hashtags, comments. It's a mess. They're quick, I said. Let them talk. She called you fragile on TV. Good, I said. Now everyone will replay her little performance when the truth comes out. Marion went quiet. You are planning something. I'm not planning, I corrected. I'm letting her script her own ending. That afternoon, I got a notification. Someone tagged me in a post. Lydia again. This time smiling at a party, champagne in her hand like she won something. The caption, family harmony takes patience and forgiveness. Lord, she really thought she was the narrator. I hit share and added just one sentence. Some people mistake silence for absence. Not angry, not messy, just accurate. Within an hour, her comment section turned into a wildfire. Where's your mother-in-law? You said she was fragile. Funny, public records show she owns half of Winter Haven Holdings. Why are you uninvited her for Christmas? People posted screenshots of her interview. Memes. Reactions. Somebody even drew cartoon Lydia holding a fragile box labeled Helen. Messy? Absolutely. Accurate? Painfully. By evening, the story was trending locally. Reporters started sniffing around. Marion called again. You started a storm. No, I said. She did. I just opened the window. You're enjoying this, Marion said, trying not to laugh. I'm observing, I replied. Observation is free revenge. That night, I lit the fireplace in Winter Haven and wound the music box. Silent night floated through the villa, soft and victorious. Notifications exploded on my phone. Articles, comments. People sharing their own stories about being mistreated by in-laws. It wasn't drama anymore. It was a movement. Then Ethan called. Mom, what's happening? Lydia's freaking out. Reporters are outside. Everyone's calling her ungrateful. She built that reputation, I said. I just stopped covering for her. You posted on purpose. I don't do accidents. He sighed. Mom, she's crying. Tell her tears don't rewrite interviews. Mom, this isn't helping. It's not meant to help, I said. It's meant to clarify. He fell silent. I'm not angry at you, Ethan, I said softly. But I'm disappointed you needed the public to teach you what I've been saying for years. He didn't answer. When the call ended, I stood by the giant window overlooking the lake. Snow fell slow and steady, like the world was agreeing with me. Quiet power, I whispered. Henry taught me well. But Lydia wasn't done, not by a long shot. And the night she finally showed up at the gates of Winter Haven, shivering and desperate, was the night everything came full circle. The storm rolled in that night like the sky was cracking open. Snow hammered against the villa windows, the wind howling like it had a score to settle. I made cocoa, 2 mugs, out of habit, then remembered I only needed one now. The phone rang. Ethan. His voice was small. Mom, I'm outside. I froze. Outside where? Outside the gate. My car slid off the road. I couldn't reach you. You shouldn't be driving in this weather, I said, grabbing my coat. I needed to see you. Of course he did. Guilt makes people brave. I stepped out into the cutting cold. Wind slapped my face, snow blurring everything but the glowing headlights near the gate. Ethan stumbled toward me, soaked, shaking, genuinely scared. Get inside, I said. No softness, just direction. He nodded like a kid again. Inside, wrapped in a blanket, hands trembling around the mug of cocoa, he finally whispered, Lydia's gone. Gone where? She packed her things and left. She said she couldn't handle the comments, the reporters, the pressure. She blamed me. And you. She's not entirely wrong, I said. She and I built this fire together. She struck the match. I opened the window. He let out a shaky laugh. Mom, I'm sorry. I should have defended you. You didn't, I said bluntly. But you're here now. That counts for something. He nodded. I don't know how to fix all of this. You already started, I said. You walked through a storm. That's the first step. He looked around the villa, taking in the warmth, the fire, the calm. This place, it feels like Dad. It is, I said. Every inch of it. He sighed. Lydia said you wanted revenge. Lydia doesn't understand the difference between revenge and consequence. He swallowed, staring at the fire. Mom, do you hate her? No. Hate is loud. I prefer results. He huffed a laugh. You sound just like Dad. I learned from him. Silence stretched between us. Not painful this time, just honest. After a moment, he whispered, Can I stay here? At least for tonight. For tonight, I said. After that, we'll see. That's fair, he murmured. He finished his cocoa, exhaustion finally catching up. When he went upstairs to the guest room, I watched him disappear around the corner like a memory stepping into the future. The storm outside softened into heavy flakes falling slowly, like the world was taking a breath. The next morning, the snow was blindingly bright. Birds chirped like nothing dramatic had happened the night before. I was cooking breakfast when Martin called. She's here, he said. Who? Lydia. At the gate. Of course she was. Through the trees, her red coat stood out like a warning flare. She clung to the iron bars with frozen fingers, makeup streaked from the cold. Helen, please, she called. I just need a minute. I stepped onto the porch. The cold wrapped around me like armor. You've had a year of minutes, I said. She shook her head, breath coming out in clouds. I made mistakes. I know that. I shouldn't have said what I said. I shouldn't have done any of it. Yes, I said. You shouldn't have. I thought you'd understand, she cried. You're always so calm. I was jealous. That, I said, is your first honest sentence. Her voice cracked. I lost everything, Helen. My job, my reputation, my friends. People whisper my name like it's a joke. Actions echo, I said, louder than intentions. Please, she sobbed. I just want to fix it. For you, I said, or for me. She hesitated, and that hesitation was my answer. You built this storm, I said gently. Now feel the weather. You're cruel, she whispered. No, I'm consistent. Behind me, Ethan watched from the window, guilt and clarity warring on his face. Lydia took a shaking step back. You all think you're saints. No, I said softly. We're just awake. She turned and walked away. No theatrics. No final line. Just quiet defeat swallowed by snow. When I went back inside, Ethan asked, You won't forgive her? I already did. I said, Forgiveness isn't reopening doors. It's locking them without bitterness. He absorbed that slowly, like it hurt and healed at the same time. Later that day, Martin arrived with the final documents for the foundation. I signed them without trembling. Evergreen Haven Foundation, official. Henry's plan finished. My plan beginning. Lydia's storm ended. I stood at the balcony overlooking the frozen lake. The music box played its last soft notes. I once thought silence was weakness, I whispered. Now I know it's the sound of dignity. And with that, Winter Haven became a place not built from pain, but rebuilt from purpose.